recording. Nice.
Step one. All right. Welcome to Good to Geek Out. Good place to go to geek out. We are continuing our coverage of Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 3, a.k.a. Chapter 11, called The Heiress, which is a very, very heavy title. Editor ready to cover this with my boys. What's up, fellas?
Hey, Rob Lucy coming at you from Phoenix, Oregon, rising from the ashes. Big spoilers ahead. And I am thankful that we had such huge surprises in this episode with the spoilers that we were dropping even before the season came out. Did not see it coming. Happily surprised, excited to talk about it.
Boba Fresh, San Francisco. Great to see everybody. But I can't see you, but you know what I mean.
All right. Right off the bat, we get the dilapidated bucket. What's it called? The crest? Razor Crest. Crashing down onto Trask. They really have great cold openings this season. I don't think I've disliked any of them. And this one, even with a little humor at the end, was perfect. It was very, very well done. What did you guys think about the intro? Comparison to the other ones as well, I guess.
Overcoming adversity, again, top-notch special effects, little tongue-in-cheek. They had the Imperial Walker light crane. I thought that was a great effect, a great design, pulling him out, and then the calamari just kind of shaking his head. All right, I can't fix it, but I'll get it going again.
I agree. I think it was great that they actually injected a lot of positive in this episode. Like, I'll get into it later, but like between the funny things and good things happening to people, quote unquote, I thought it was great on the cold open, like perfect little, like a great little like joke. Bloop, like the timing was simply perfect. And when you think like this is all being done CGI to like to time the music to come up with, you know, all of these visuals, and it puts you there, you know, like that's the everything kind of intertwines as well as any other cinematic piece. It was great.
Also an episode done by Bryce Dallas Howard, who did the two heartfelt episodes from last season, and you could tell right from the beginning this was a little pulling at the heartstrings, right when the frog people meet each other.
Which other episodes did they do? Did he do?
She did the one when they're on the forest planet.
Okay.
Get to it.
Ooh, moving on. So we're on the water planet. We see the Mon Calamari and the, what are they called? The Quarren? What are they called? Quarrens. Yeah.
Quarren. I thought it was great getting to your point, and this is my first thing about good things happening in this episode. When I believe they're more salamandery than they are frog, but maybe, you know, like they're tree frogs, whatever, I'm fine. The great thing is when they see each other in the dock and you're just like, oh my God, like there's no way they're going to find each other. And then like when she's running to him, I'm like, something's going to happen to her. I was like, they're hanging on this shot too long. Like, sounds like she's going to get snatched up. He's going to get shot. Like, I don't know what it is. And then they hug. And I was like, oh, God, what a relief. This is really nice. This is really nice. And when they go back to their place, I was like stormtroopers or someone's going to bust into this place and like wreck these two gecko people and their egg babies. And nah, man, they have a great episode. I have never seen anyone in Star Wars have a better interaction with the world than those two geckos have from beginning to end. No strife in their life as soon as they meet up, and I loved it. He doesn't even eat their babies. Like, I was like, oh, like, this is going too well. This is going too well. And, nah.
Yeah, no. And what's the? I mean, besides like obviously the end, what's the biggest obstacle? Is Baby Yoda dealing with the octopus in his chowder? Like, there's nothing too heavy.
Stop playing with your food.
Yeah. I do like the way he doesn't even look and he stabs the thing just the right way to make it fall. That was very like subtle, but it was pretty cool. So from there, you know, Mando, of course, gets his passage with the Quarrens and they're pirates. Pirates do what pirates do. I did not like the comparisons I saw online to Pirates of the Caribbean, somehow thinking this was tied to it or an illusion. Like, yeah, Dead Man's Chest or whatever.
Davy Jones.
Yeah, there you go.
I always got more of a Cthulhu vibe from Quarren, and to be quite honest,
Agreed.
Because of D&D, my first intro to Cthulhu was really Mind Flayers. So like I always got like an Illithid Mind Flayer kind of vibe from him. I think that the Quarrens, the way that they set that up and delivered was great because the boat was lived on. Like there's something about the Millennium Falcon, you know, like everything, the Death Star can be clean. You can do all these other effects that are real world. But sometimes when you just get the dirt right, and I felt that the boat's dirt was right. Something that I did find odd, nerding out, is that they're Quarren, so why do you have a surface boat?
Transporting goods, I think. You know, they played it so cool. Like they got the Mandalorian by surprise. Hey, come over here. Show you ever seen one of these? Check it out. Get him a little bit closer. And then whap.
I mean, then we get the Mandalorians coming in. The Night Owls recognized from Clone Wars cartoon and Rebels cartoon, and we get the introduction in this live action version of the voice actress that played her on Clone Wars, Bo-Katan.
Katana.
Forget her real name.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that a lot of people were probably unfamiliar with her unless you've seen Clone Wars and Rebels. She's just like another Mandalorian. But there's some huge importance there because she really closes some loopholes where she's like, oh, you're from the Children of the Watch, the religious zealots. So that closes that loophole of why on Rebels, why on Clone Wars were the Mandalorians always taking off their helmets, because they always could. But then there was this side shoot, and this is what a lot of people only know that of Mandalorians from what they've been introduced now. I thought they nailed the blue color. I thought they nailed everything about them from the Clone Wars, as they should, because the executive producer, or main director,
Filoni.
Yeah, Filoni. That's his baby, Clone Wars, or a lot, not completely his, but
Clone Wars and Rebels. Because I went back to watch her episodes just to see if the characters had any dramatic shift. Aside from being part of Death Watch at one point, it's not really much of a shift in her character. A little bit, since she's kind of hunting for the Darksaber here. And the last time
she was the last person to have the Darksaber.
Yeah.
The last person that we saw with the Darksaber.
But she also kind of did it reluctantly, and it was for her sister who used to be the Duchess of Mandalore. It wasn't necessarily like, this is mine and I deserve it. So to see her here, a little further down the history, down the timeline, to be like, this is mine, I want it. That something happened from the Empire going to Mandalore and stripping her.
Oh, yes. Somebody took it from her.
That's going to be a great story.
But she was never down with her sister's pacifist views of what Mandalore should be. They were at odds with. Yeah, she was like, yeah, and then she ended up dying. So,
well, murdered.
She based on what we've seen from Clone Wars and Rebels, she is the rightful heir to the the throne of Mandalore. Mm-hmm. But she needs that Darksaber.
They do also mention Mandalore being uninhabitable, and if you see it in Rebels, it's kind of like a barren planet a little bit from the byproduct of warring societies. What do you think about that?
And I think that Ed is skirting like what the real point of Mandalore is, just like the real point of any of the worlds are. Every world is a monolithic, like you don't ever have an Earth. You don't ever have a place that's got a polar caps and a place that's got jungles and a place, like everything is one thing because every planet is a metaphor for something. The barrenness of Tatooine, the coldness of the Empire's deaths, the cold, there's all these analogies, the frozen nature of Hoth, like how they're stuck in the place. And so I think that Mandalore ends up being this metaphor for war. Like war is an unsustainable place. Like you cannot, like it scars the land, it destroys everything, it depletes everything. And everyone is a refugee. Like war makes if you think about the moon's a refugee camp.
Like before we go to the interaction between Din Djarin and the Mandalorians and the Night Owls, her reaching in to say, "Take my hand," total flashback to him becoming a child of the Watch and the previous Mandalorian reaching in and helping him from that little, but whatever little thing he was trapped in when he became a Mandalorian the first time. And so you see him take her hand, and then ideologically they're obviously different, and he just takes off, as opposed to becoming a child.
That's a really good point.
And it's setting up for whether or not they're gonna, see eye to eye later.
Well, certainly,
Those
they
things
start using the "this is the way." Well, this is the way. So they have a different idea of what the way is.
Yeah, exactly.
And is she using that just to kind of manipulate him in a way? Because she almost kind of rolls her eyes when she says it one time, like, "Oh, this is the way. This is."
Yeah, and they never say it in the other ones. I did watch Rebels, and I think, or maybe it was Clone Wars, and they do say "this is the way" once, but then like it's a sentence. It's not like, but that's the only time you ever hear it referenced.
Mm-hmm.
The introduction. I think the introduction of the characters was great. I liked seeing them in action more than I liked them in their dramatic roles. The dude, I really liked the dude. Like they didn't give him any lines really. Like he kind of just hung out in the background. Like I was like, yeah, I relate to that guy. Like I'm seeing the world through the window he has there. But them setting that up, the way that they work, "this is the way," is in my opinion, is a great little play on, "may the force be with you." And, we saw in the last episode, like he says to those cops, like, "may the force be with you." So like what these terms mean to different people and how they can be manipulated within inflection.
They have done a masterful job on Dank Farrik, though. They're really working that in. They're going to spearhead that more than "this is the way." Where are we at? So then, as Din Djarin leaves him, he gets cornered by the Corrans, of course, who catch up to him and are ready to take him out. And that's when the Night Owls come back and save him and begin their bargaining to see if they're going to be eye to eye and see if the way is their way or if it's going to be separate.
One of the things that bother me about this universe going on about monolithic planets and just these things, when he's like, "Yeah, the stormtroopers, they can't shoot the side of a bantha." I was like, really? Like there's zero other animals in the universe that people use colloquially. Like this backwater born thing. Anyway, it again was one of those, like, it was one of the
overly done fan services. So he's dropping baby Yoda off. And I thought that be on your best behavior. You know what I mean? Like, don't eat the eggs or the babies. That was a little bit
which I thought was
right there.
Which I thought was a good tongue in cheek because that he eats them. But
no pun intended.
But the other thing is that it's like you can tell that this is a different writer. Like, because again, like a different director, because I'm super nervous that someone's gonna break in and shoot the shit out of those geckos. And so you can, again, like, that was the first time, like, something like he leaves them there and like they come back and there's a birth scene and does that tadpole have the force? I don't know. Maybe the tadpole has the force. It could. I mean, how young do you have to be to have the midichlorians in you?
I mean, but that whole scene with the geckos is, it's Yoda's maturation from like an infant to a toddler, right? Like he understands consequence and like if he didn't eat the eggs, this is what comes out, and then he like loves it and pets it, and even jokes to Mando about taking it home. So like it seems like it's like kind of just cutesy kind of stuff, and good-hearted stuff, but it's also showing a slight maturation on Yoda, baby Yoda, or the kid, sorry, and what he's slowly growing too. It's not like only Din Djarin is changing and growing. Long live the Empire.
Speaking of the Empire,
No, that long live the Empire yell, equating them to kamikaze pilots after the war is done, pretty much, right? It's like and then he bites the the cyanide pill of that galaxy or whatever.
Great.
I loved it.
Great tech up of a common trope. Like the visual on it was great. Like we knew exactly what was happening because we've seen it so many times. Totally dope. I loved the way that they had set them up, the shootouts with the stormtroopers in the hallways, which I always think are funny because I'm like, who's building these bulwark hallways that always have places to hide behind?
you know what? I noticed that too, and I had recently with the kids watched A New Hope, and right when Darth Vader enters into the freighter, it's that hallway with like the points of cover. The hallways looked almost identical in the freighter, and then the freighter from A New Hope.
Yeah, no, they totally
puts her head around the corner outside the door, and then sneaks off into one of the
totally
towards an escape pod.
Just like
great there.
Just like how Ed was saying that they had redone that shot, that was basically a shot for shot of Darth Vader's entrance. Where all of the stormtroopers were, is like where all the rebels were in that shot. So like just them mirroring that, like that's the kind of fan service that I like.
It's
beautifully done. Beautifully done.
We also got to see our first shot of Moff Gideon in season 2. So that's coming to a head at some point. She's looking.
Well, he's the main villain, and throughout this, he's obviously the main villain. And I think what's interesting, the way that he was revered and feared, more feared than revered, possibly. I think they might be setting him up to be a possible force wielder of some kind. So why else would he be so afraid of Moff Gideon, where this guy would, instead of like running off and hiding, he's like, you know what? I'm not only gonna suicide myself, I'm gonna take everybody else out on this ship, and do it without hesitation. So he has this true Emperor Darth Vader like respect or fear, which has only been given to other force wielders at this point in time.
I took a different take on that entire interaction. I took it more as a symbol. Again, if this episode is about mirrors, like this is a mirror of fanaticism. Like we're seeing, like she's like, yo, Bo-Katan's like, you're a fanatic, dude. Like you're part of like these people who are dedicated and will do anything for the cause. And on the other end, we see this guy who is dedicated. He is a fanatic. He's down for the Empire. Like he believes in what the Empire is. I don't think he's scared of Homeboy because he's about to die. Like there's no strings attached. You know, like if you're going to die.
Well, he says he's scared of him. When Bo-Katana says, "Hey, give up the information."
He didn't. He seemed like he was. I read that more as him being like, I've beaten you because you're not going to get it because you already know the answer to this. Which I think, again, was great seeding for the Darksaber and Bo-Katan and threading together the various intellectual properties of Star Wars. But I have not yet gotten the feeling that he is a force wielder as much as he's just someone who's super charismatic in the middle of a vacuum, a power vacuum in a military structure.
I could see both your points, but the fanaticism, if that's like a tone for the episode, you can hear it in Bo-Katan's voice when she speaks about the Darksaber as well. She's just as big of a fanatic trying to get that back. So yeah, there's definitely like an undertone of fanaticism in the episode. If you go that route, then I'd lean towards Straughter's assertion.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would
Well,
love Moff Gideon to be a force wielder. I mean, I've been looking at his 375, 375 toy that's come out, and I'm like, ooh, man, like I might need to get me a Moff Gideon and stand that up. I don't need another toy in here, but damn, maybe. To finish off the cargo heist. So, yes, Ed, I think that this is their version of the train heist done super well. Probably the highlight of Solo for me, the movie. And so it was good to see that they were going to touch that Western trope in this series where they've already touched so many different Western tropes. The surprise, the shock. They have every episode, they have some phenomenal acting from someone who's not important. The Mon Calamari dock worker, one. And the other one is the pilot on the ship who's just like,
the guy on the left. Just
his face processing all of this stuff is just so great, you know, like
he's that kid from the sticks in Idaho or something that just signed up for this.
Exactly.
They're like, what is going on right now? And then, you know, is he going to kill me right now? What's going on? I don't know.
I'm just a good pilot. Well, he's thinking that there's 4 Mandalorians that have just smoked every other stormtrooper that's in this thing, and he definitely knows he can't take on the stormtrooper. He's a pilot.
Yeah, he's the one where the voice comes in. There's at least 10 of them, and then he's like, "Sir, there are only 4 life forms."
Yeah, that's a great one.
Which I thought was super. Yeah, like I said, superb acting from a, just like I said, side character.
And I do like the way it started out serious but comical, slightly. At the very end, we get the same thing when it's kind of funny that last episode you were mentioning how ridiculous the term Mon Calamari is for it, like a people that are squids pretty much, or little crustaceans or whatever. And to have him just yell Mon Calamari at the end, and just all you see is nets and fishing lines to like Mickey. I wish he would have said this is a Mickey Mouse job just for Disney. That would have been probably been a little too heavy-handed, but it would have been kind of funny because that was the biggest Mickey Mouse job I've ever seen on a starship.
So my final big takeaway on that, the Mon Calamari, that whole interaction, like I said, putting that voice with him, just the ship's just beat up. Like I said, it's just very lived in, just a very lived in kind of world. What I really liked at the end is that when they do get in the cockpit and you're seeing that there's still all the seaweed and netting and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is Yoda. This is Dagobah. And so you're seeing Dagobah blended in with the Mandalorian. Like they're now intertwined in a certain way, like the life force that Yoda is all about, that the kid's all about, is now literally inside and intertwined with the ship.
It's also kind of dope. You still see pieces falling off, like it's not even fully fixed or secured yet. You just see it. I didn't know what it was at first when he closed it, and then when you're in space, I saw another random block drop. Like, oh, that's pieces of the ship. They're still janky. Anything else, Lucy?
Completely impressed. Yeah, they outdid themselves again. Can't wait to see where the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, the kid, end up next. And if we see Ahsoka Tano, I think we'll see Ahsoka at the end of the next episode somehow or another. Is my prediction.
I hope so. All right. On that note, episode 4, I'm super excited about. I'm sure we're gonna have a ton of shit to talk about. Different shit as always. Editor San Antonio, Geek Out, and Geek On.
Boba Fresh. Editor San Antonio. Boba Fresh, San Francisco. Peace.
Robert Luce, Phoenix, Oregon, rising from the ashes. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm sure somebody's reading the comments. See you guys soon.